Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play Battle of Edchera, Spanish Sahara, Africa 1958. This follows on, almost straight on from the Ifni War, and it's actually part of the Ifni War under Wikipedia. After failing to take out Sidi Ifni, they actually they regrouped and they reorganised their Moroccan army as the Saharan Liberation Army, and then they moved south onto this place. Let's just skip into play mode so I can actually have a look at the map. Obviously it's in slow mode. YouTube open, probably. Okay, so again, this is another sort of semi-simulation as to what happened. I'm not sure how balanced it is. It's the sort of thing that could be balanced, but I haven't done it balanced. I just plonk the troops in there sort of as I feel fit, and explain some key points as we go forward. But essentially, they after the failing to take out Sidi Ifni, they rebranded their troops as the Saharan Liberation Army, and they moved south onto this place, Aaiun. The only thing to say on top of that is, again and again, the names just don't match up with what, even in Wikipedia, if you read through Wikipedia on this battle, and also many others, word for word, and then look at the maps that they have on Wikipedia, they don't match up. It's like people have written things and someone else has put the maps in. These places almost don't exist in Google Maps, and a lot of it is because I think things get lost in interpretation. I mean, this is not Edchera, this is like something Legionaire. I don't know. Anyway, so what we got after they failed at Sidi Ifni, they moved south to take out Aaiun. They failed on that. They only spent one day, but they sent an entire division. Now I've calculated divisions with scrap paper here as being 9 battalions, three regiments. So I've actually given them 10 battalions. The only sort of thing I do know is that the Spanish had 2 Legionaire battalions, which are in Aaiun. They brought those down before the Sidi Ifni siege. Everything else is sort of guesswork, other than the fact that the assault fails and they retreat. Now, whether or not this assault will fail and whether they will retreat is something that we can't say. But in this simulation mode, we can assume that will sort of happen. And then what happens is they see an opportunity down here at Edchera. Now, this is not really a place. There was essentially 2 from the 13th Battalion Legionnaires, Spanish Legionnaires. There were 2 companies on reconnaissance here, and after failing on this assault, they essentially attacked them. The Spanish Legionnaires defend themselves very well. I'm not sure what the outcome was. Well, the outcome was basically a lot of heavy fighting, very heavy casualties, I imagine, until nightfall, which is strange. It's something I'm picking up through the games. Nightfall comes along, and it's actually quite a significant break point. Whereas when you're playing hex games, there's no such thing as night. But the night comes along, and the Moroccans of the Saharan Liberation Army were actually heavily disorganised due to the Legionnaires are the sort of professionals. They're the best for the Spanish, and they had mortars. I'm not including any ranged indirect fire because mortars are more sort of part and parcel of the infantry setup. So, but you know, they put up a heavy defence and caused a lot of damage, and the Moroccans ran away in the night. So that's basically what happens. They come down here, try to take Aaiun, fail, come down here, see an opportunity with these two companies. The two companies are there now, so we're not going to sort of say, oh, we better move these up here. They're on reconnaissance there. There's no historic precedent for any of this. I've just sort of put some more units in there just to give the Spanish player perhaps, you know, a sense for something else, you know. There really isn't anything else over here for there to be sort of any Spanish, you know, units hanging around. The scale, a hex is about 5 kilometres across. So again, we're talking quite a distance, really. And so that's that, really. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really sort of thought about how this would be played. But we've got to take that hex there. Movement 0.75. Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm just sort of, I don't know, I don't really know. And it's the first time I only just built this now. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm sort of thinking, you know, that's sort of a normal way of maybe putting things in there. Now we've got some movement there. What I am thinking of doing is taking this unit out, but they are actually quite good in defence. So I can get 8 against 2. That would be 4 to 1. You know, seeing as it's an assault, I'm going to go for it. 4 to 1's pretty good. And that is a defender retreat. So that was a worthwhile attack that sets the pace of the game with already a unit already depressed 2. I'm not sure whether I want to be going for that unit, but let's see. So there were 3, but I can only get 2 to 1 against that. Decisions, because they're not going to get it's not going to get much better. A 2 to 1 attack isn't actually that bad, and most of the next following attacks will probably be 2 to 1s. So I'm going to go for it. I'm imagining it's a 2 to 1. It could be a 3 to 1. 2 to 1, and then exchange. So that wasn't really what I was after at this stage, but you know, I'm just playing the game. So that would have been nice to get a retreat on that unit, because it would have left, you know, next turn quite open, because I don't think the Spanish are going to be attacking. So that's the Saharan Liberation Army turn. So now we're on to Spain. The question is, what does Spain want to do? Well, that's not an objective, so I didn't really want to start using these units, just because it's not necessarily the historic precedent, but I feel like it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to hassle the flank here. Now that's the airport, so I'm going to leave something in there. I think I'm going to move forward here. I'm also going to move forward there. I mean, I'm not going to occupy this because I feel that they're going to fall back. Or should I? No, they're going to stay there because they're objectives. So I think that's that turn. I'm not going to do any counter attacks. Okay, so the Saharan Liberation Army turn. Well, it would have been nice if they could have not been contesting this line again, but that's been reinforced. And this unit is still there. To be quite honest, that is a tasty target. Maybe I should have blocked it. That gives us quite a good surround on that. And plus, well, I'd rather have more units in the battle. Let's see what we can do against this one. So he's worth 2, he's worth 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. With a surround that block out any difference in depression. There are any depressed units here. 6 to 1, defender eliminated. So that's what the Saharan Liberation Army want to do. Perhaps a little more of. Got a little bit of movement there. Some enough movement to get through the desert. Okay, and let's see what we can do against this stag. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly a 7 to 1 on this. 7 to 1, defender eliminated. So this is quite quite interesting, really, because Saharan Liberation Army (SLA) are doing really well. Maybe they were too beefed up. Okay. I'm not going to do another video on this because this one's going to get the general gist out. But what I'm sort of thinking here is how to leave it in a position where I can assume, thinking in advance, that I'm going to fail, and then I can come back. They did actually retreat southeast, so in theory the whole idea would be that I would try to draw a line across there, forcing that way. At the moment the line's there, I'm going that way. If the line was across here, going that way, to fall back, I'd be able to fall back onto this target here. But you know, they just didn't know that, so they did not plan for that opportunity to arise. And they just took it. So anyway, I think that's the Spanish. Now that was the Moroccans. Now the Spanish turn. And they've got a lot of troops in there, not so many in there. I think they really need to that's into a zone of control, so that's that. A very short line there. They're not depressed. I was thinking of a counter-attack on that. Go 4, 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 23. That would be a 5 to 1 odds. There's a good chance I could eliminate that unit. So I'm going to go for it. Yep, and that's what I said, a good chance I could eliminate it. I think I got my maths right. The die roll wasn't brilliant, but it was a DE. And so that is a blow that Moroccans, I don't think, can really afford, because it's cost me nothing in there to do that. So, the Moroccan turn, their Saharan Liberation Army, liberating the Sahara. Well, I'm going to start to angle myself here. I'm going to leave that there to extend the front line. Whoops, 15 minutes. Stay tuned or not. Well, it's sort of the next day, so I can see this still on my screen, so I've got to continue it. So it's the Saharan Liberation Army move, and they look like they've just moved into this sort of position here. I really don't think we have enough to move in on that. So there were 6, so that would be 8, 16, which is 2 to 1, but plus 10%. Still not going to be a 3 to 1, but that is what battles are about. Yep, well, that was a good result, 2 to 1. They needed, and I think you can move into there. So, end the turn. Okay, now the Spanish. What should they got in there? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. I think we're going to reinforce like that. Can't move into there. Interesting. Can't move into there. Must be something in the configuration table anyway. So, okay, so the Spanish turn. What to do? Prussians 1. It all comes down to one assault somewhere. So here at the moment they've got 6, 12, 14, tripled, 13, 42. I could 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because they lost 1. So there's a maximum of 36 strength points. So they're never going to get 1 to 1, but they could get a surround. Well, okay, well, Spanish are going to reinforce that and hold. Which is kind of crazy really, because I'm not going to get good odds. And so there were 8, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 25, 28, 29. versus 8. 3 to 1. 3 to 1, I think it's a good counter-attack. At the moment, it's pretty much balancing up exactly as it went historically. They made the assaults, they were easily repulsed, and that counts for being easily repulsed. So end the turn. So what's going to happen now is that the Saharan Liberation Army is going to do what it did historically, but quite conveniently in this situation, and that's make use of this opportunity here. I'm quite pleased with how that's worked out, because it is sort of naturally almost exactly what happened. I mean, that is almost a good defensive line. Now I'm going to play it in the way that these people are still holding, because they don't really know what's happened here. You know, they could be just regrouping for another assault. And here they've not really figured it out yet, but so they're just going to hold. Okay, so the Saharan Liberation Army, Moroccans. Okay, well, do they have any grounds for attack? So it's 6, and they've got 4, 8, 12, so it's 2 to 1, plus a little bit of an outflank. I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get, I think, in the initial stages. Right, it's really not. So this is, well, it's historic, because the Spanish Legionaires there, 13th Battalion, did hold out, inflicting fairly significant losses, and so there you go, they just caused these people to retreat. It's all pretty much panning out historically. But I think that technically, from a wargaming perspective, I think that attack was a bit premature. You know, I would have done better just sitting there and waiting till all my forces surrounded them and then attack them. But that's sort of a gameplay thing. I just thought I would try and play it a little more normally. Okay, now they can move. Now the thing that I didn't bear in mind was that they're dug in. They're not entrenched yet. They will be soon, but they're dug in, so they were doubled. So that was an even worse attack, to be quite honest. I can't remember what the odds were now. I didn't factor that in. It would have been maybe a 1 to 1, but it was an 11 die roll, so that was pretty bad. Still only press 2. Ouch! I thought it was the Moroccans' turn. That's a pain in the arse. Oops, excuse my French. 5 minutes to go as well. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move them back. Now they're dug in again, and they're not going to be entrenched. They should have, if they'd a couple more turns, they'd have been entrenched just like these units. But it sort of puts the game a little more back into how it was. And then I can do what I wanted to do here. They benefited in that they're not depressed anymore. So I can't really do much about that. But what I am going to do is wait a turn. Okay, so they repulsed one assault. They've got a choice now. Do they make a one-to-one against one of these units? Now, because they're surrounded, they've got the choice to retreat. But because historically they sort of held their ground, I'm going to hold the ground. I'm not going to do a counter-strike. Because I lose my dug-inness. I'm frustrated with that, losing dug-inness, because I don't think you should counter-strike. So, anyway. Okay, so it's the Saharan Liberation Army's turn. Well, we've got the surround. It's about as good as it's going to get. So the odds here would have got 6 in defence, doubled to 12. I've got 8, 12, 24, 26, 2 to 1. Surround. Put it up to about 3 to 1. 4 to 1. Well, there you go. Marginal victory at the end. I don't think they stand a chance of taking this out. I'll sort of leave it at that. I think maybe in retrospect, I mean, it's this surround thing. I think it's a sort of gameplay, and you can get the units into that sort of stage. But I think the situation was sort of, it wasn't as clear cut because I could only have done a one-to-one, and whatever happened, he could very well have brought units back into that space and completed the surround. It is actually quite difficult. The only thing is, for example, I could have maybe assaulted, for example, this unit, forcing it back maybe there because it seems how it works. Moved into there, and then that unit there would have just moved there. That unit there would have moved there. That unit there would have moved there. And these units would have moved up, and the surround would have been completed. So it's sort of one of those things. Now, what quite often is the problem with surrounds is that you surround them with little units. So but all of these are actually pretty tough. Now, 4-4 is pretty tough when you've got a 1-2-3. I can't remember what the legions were actually. I think there were 2 or 3. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the point is that this is an unusual, and I'm pointing with my stick here. What do you think? It's unusual in that all the surrounds of equal strength. There wasn't a weak spot. You know, there was one incredibly strong spot doubled up here, but quite often you put in something that's sort of, even if it's just got a lot of depressions, there's usually a weaker spot. In this instance, there wasn't a weak spot, and so I think that and I don't think it's unprecedented that division, which is what they had, upon finding 2 companies, wouldn't wipe them out. The thing that this game doesn't sort of portray or reflect, and to be quite honest, I don't think I'm ever going to do it. I have thought of ways of doing it. Is the night turn, because essentially, the Moroccans continued to fight against the Spanish until night, which when they retreated, basically withdrew. Basically, they had suffered a lot of casualties, and and I think they didn't want to sort of, take any more casualties, etc. It was even obvious, really. But I think that's one of the things that games sort of often fail to cover is the significance of just taking a few casualties. It's enough to make a commander, I think, sort of, make the decision to withdraw. It's not cannon fodder. I think it's sort of what a lot of war games do. Anyway, it's 15 minutes, so I hope you enjoy it.